Okay. I got yeah, I got a few verses I want to read. Um Now I think, most believers, Christians that say they believe, they would all agree that most of them, vast majority, that the scriptures don't contradict. Well, and I've heard songs like in the church world growing up in it, trust and obey, for there's no other way. Well, none of them are actually doing that. It's just a song. So I found some verses that are all kind of the same, speaking of the same thing here. So Isaiah 56, uh, like 9 verses, I think. 59, I think or is it 56? 56. Thus, let me change this here. Thus says Yahweh, keep justice and do righteousness, for my salvation is about to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man, or blessed is the man who does this, and the Son of Man who lays hold on it, who keeps from defiling the Sabbath and keeps his hand from doing any evil. Do not let the son of the foreigner, or alien, I guess, foreigner, stranger, somebody that's not from the household. Do not let the son of the foreigner who has joined himself to Yahweh speak, saying, Yahweh has utterly separated me from his people. Nor let the eunuch say, here I am a dry tree, for thus says Yahweh to the eunuchs who keep my Sabbaths and choose what pleases me, and hold fast my covenant, even to them I will give in my house and within my walls a place and a name better than that of sons and daughters. I will give them an age-lasting name that shall not be cut off, everlasting name. Also the sons of the foreigner will join themselves to Yahweh to serve him, to love the name of Yahweh, to be his servants, everyone who keeps from defiling the Sabbath and holds fast my covenant. Even them I will bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices will be accepted on my altar. For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations. Yahweh, who gathers the outcasts of Israel, says, yet I will gather to him others besides those who are gathered to him. And then I still got a few more verses that I found that are all on the same subject on foreigners. Okay, hold up. So Isaiah in there is clearly, back then it was already true that foreigners became one and they didn't do anything different and they weren't treated different, and part of the experience for them being in slavery to the Egyptians is you were also strangers, so treat them, he kind of had it put on them first so that they would be hypocrites if they didn't treat the foreigner properly or treated them as, not one. So this is not a new teaching, and this is not something I've ever learned in the, in the harlot world. So these things are pretty new to me too. Exodus 12, if a foreigner staying with you wants to observe Passover, Yahweh's Passover, all his males must be circumcised. This is a foreigner. This is not a Jew or a Hebrew. If a foreigner staying with you wants to observe Yahweh's Passover, all his males must be circumcised, then he may take part and observe it. He will be like a citizen. Now that reminds me of Paul saying you're the citizens of the household, right? Paul didn't teach something different, did he? He will be like a citizen of the land, but no uncircumcised person is to eat it. The same teaching is to apply equally to the citizen and to the foreigner living among you. Then you shall say to them, Leviticus, then you shall say to them, any man from the house of Israel or from the aliens who sojourn among them, who offers a burnt offering or sacrifice and does not bring it to the doorway or the tent of meeting to offer to Yahweh, that man shall also be cut off from his people. Leviticus 24, you are to apply the same standard of judgment to the foreigner as to the citizen, Jew and Gentile, and in the New Testament there, Paul, because I, Yahweh, your God, I am Yahweh, your God. Numbers 9, if a foreigner is staying with you and wants to observe Passover for Yahweh, he is to do it according to the regulations and rules of Passover. You are to have the same law for the foreigner as for the citizen of the land. Numbers 15, everyone who is native born must do these things in this way when he brings an offering made by fire, pleasing aroma to Yahweh. For the generations to come, whenever an alien or anyone else living among you presents an offering made by fire as an aroma pleasing to Yahweh, he must do exactly as you do. So no difference. This was taught a long time ago, and I never learned this in the church world because I think they willfully won't teach this, most of them. How could all of them not teach this? That's not an accident. So for whenever an alien or anyone else living among you presents an offering made pleasing to he must do exactly as you do. The community is to have the same rules for you and for the alien living among you. This is a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. You and the alien shall be the same before Yahweh. The same laws and regulations will apply both to you and the alien living among you. And Deuteronomy 31. When Israel have come to appear in the presence of Yahweh at the place he will choose, you are to read this Torah before all Israel so that they can hear it. Assemble the people, the men, the women, the little ones, and the foreigners you have in your town so that they can hear, learn, fear Yahweh your God, Elohim, and take care to obey all the words of this law or Torah. Exodus 22, you shall neither mistreat a stranger nor oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I think that's all of the ones I have here. Now I probably should just, Genesis 17 too, about Abraham was uncircumcised. He would have been considered like a Gentile, and he was called out, and then he was accredited to him righteousness while he was uncircumcised. While Paul talks about this, while he was like, it was already true, but this was still to come under the new covenant. Gentiles grafted in, and the Jews basically said it's lawful. You got to do this right away. They put that heavy burden, heavy yoke all on them at once. And the true teaching that's always been true is no, you're not going to put this on them. Even the fathers couldn't bear it. It's through faith. That's how you're grafted in. That's how you're won and become citizens. It is through faith, through favor, with, saved by grace through faith. And then they were just told to do like three things: stay away from things strangled with blood and fornication or something else. But they didn't want to put a heavy yoke on them, because they're not under the law. They're under grace. So they're not, as long as you're under that, you're not being condemned for not, that's why it's a better covenant, I think, is because it's not leeway to sin. It's just leeway to continue to grow, is how I'm seeing it. and learn more, as they obviously did. And there is no, I've searched, I spent hours the last few days for anything even remotely resembling like the law vanished or was abolished. And what I'm seeing is just a few verses. There's actually not too many, because a lot of times he's saying the same thing. So if you can prove the meaning on that one thing, then he's saying the same thing everywhere else. Is that and in Acts you can read he believed in the law and he was zealous for it even before he was converted, but his heart was not circumcised. Definitely had a heart problem, but he never did away with it, and he knew the scriptures really well, probably better than maybe most of those disciples. I'm not sure, but he was a Pharisee, so he knew what he was talking about, and you have to have that in mind when you're reading that he knew it very well and believed in it. But nobody is saved by doing a bunch of works. Everyone acknowledges that. So the people who claim to believe, they can't be called legalist just because they want to do what's right. It's not fair. It's not a valid argument. And so Genesis 17 says, "And you will be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of a covenant between me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every male throughout your generations, he that is born in the house or bought with money." Okay, he that is born in the house or bought with money, or any foreigner that is not of your seed. He that is born in your house and he that is bought with your money must be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. So combining all these verses, and I don't know if there's more that speak on foreigners. There's probably, even if someone doesn't like this and this bothers them and it's creating a battle, a spiritual war, I think what the Father gave me when I, a while back when I read, I think it was Jacob that wrestled with an angel, and he said he saw the what is it? He saw the face. He didn't literally see God, but he wrestled with an angel that appeared as a man, and it says he overcame. Obviously, this is not talking about like some weak angel. That's not the point. The point is he wrestled with. It's like a physical picture of something going on spiritually. Wrestling with the Creator. And then he got, what does it say, his hip bone or something shrunk, and then he was victorious, but he came out limping. That's what it's going to be like. That's what it's going to be like. So now I might as well read the verse, and then I'll just end it here and make it pretty short, where with these verses in mind in this Old Testament scriptures, you are fellow citizens. So we read about the strangers and citizens, right? That they're to do the same thing. There's no difference. Old Testament teaching. And then back to Ephesians 2:19, or a little above 19. So as to create to himself one new man from the two, thus making peace, and that he might reconcile them both to Yahweh in one body through the cross, thereby putting to death the enmity. This is what he's talking about, the enmity of, this wall, this idea that Gentiles are unclean constantly. And he came and preached peace to you who are afar off and those who are near. That's somewhere in the scriptures too. Afar off and those who are near. He's quoting somewhere. although it's not showing on my app that that's a quote, but I remember reading it somewhere. He came and preached peace to you who are far off and to those who are near, for through him we both have access by one Spirit to the Father. Now therefore you are no longer strangers. Who's he speaking to? This is the Ephesians. Now therefore you are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with, and I read those words in the scriptures, Exodus, Numbers, Leviticus, wherever it was. There's the citizen and the foreigner had to do exactly the same thing. How does someone disprove this or contradict it? You can't. I can't. It's a contradiction, what they teach. You are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household. And it talks about the household a lot in the scriptures. Household of Yahweh, having been built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Messiah himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom the whole building being fitted together grows into holy temple in the Yahweh, in whom you also being built together for a dwelling place of Yahweh in the Spirit. So there is no command that says it went away, or thus saith Yahweh, my law is abolished. There is no such thing in the New Testament. They hate the gospel accounts because it's clear what that teaches, pretty obvious, so they throw them away. Revelations is pretty clear. Keep the commandments, which is keep the law, keep all of it. They throw that away. So the only thing they have left is picking and choosing a few verses out of the whole entire Bible. A few verses from Paul. They pick and choose even from Paul's letters, what to read and how to blind people so that they don't have to keep any of this. And they say they're not fellow citizens. They don't have to do the same things. And they can't prove the law went away. The gospel accounts don't prove that. The Revelation doesn't prove that. And neither does Paul's letters. Obviously not. He wouldn't have contradicted or taught something else. He followed and kept the true way. And a lot of these letters, they're answers back to people he already talked about. He would have gave detail instructions like I read he does. It's in Acts and other places that he, in one place, a whole entire year he was teaching. This would be details that some of which are in the letters, but most of it seems like doctrine. The doctrine that you're not saved by works of the law. And that's what the Jews were basically doing. They were saying that it's got to be, because they weren't keepers of the law. They were prideful, self-righteous beasts that took glee in showing off and look at all what we're doing. That's all they cared about. Their hearts were uncircumcised. So keeping the law is worthless if your heart is uncircumcised. So it's both. Keep his way and have a circumcised heart, because if you have hatred and all these other things, adult lust, well then forget the law. I mean, you're in sin all the time, So Paul teaches you become one. Scriptures say that those become one, even if it's a little harder to see in just Paul's letters, that the Gentiles do the same thing. Even though if you're searching for truth, you can actually see that that's what's going on. Acts is probably the most obvious place that the Gentiles were learning, and they had somebody teaching Moses in every city, and they went to the temples that existed back then on the Sabbath day. And once you see that what's actually going on, there's no need to command to keep the Sabbath over and over again, because it would have been obvious. That's what I understand, and that's the conclusion. Because there is no teaching to break it. They're just misunderstandings, willfully ignorant. They want to believe it's So they have like literally a few verses that they love, Romans 8 or whatever, here and there. They got a few verses. Yes, we're saved, and it's true. You're saved by favor through faith. But then they ditch all of it's all just nothing. It's nothing. It's just a history book. This is what they used to do. Well, it's a rude awakening, isn't it? It's a rude awakening that the law didn't go away and you're not under the law, meaning you're not under the law of sin, condemnation, and death that breaking it causes. But when you're under his favor, see, you're not under the law, you're under Messiah, under his favor. And it abounds more than the death that transgressing the law causes. So as long as you're under that, well, then he will show you how to keep the way. And then you learn, like the Gentiles had to learn. They had to do the same things as them, and there's no scripture after that. So there is no proof from the whole entire harlot and Martin Zender and all these other false teachers that separate themselves, when I clearly read in Isaiah 56 that the son of the foreigner, do not say, I have been utterly separated from the house of Yahweh. Do not say that. Now, just because they don't say those words just like that, they're implying and teaching that. Well, hopefully, the few people that see this, maybe you can actually see why I got rid of or put on private all the other videos. It's possible I might let some back in that just teach doctrine that I still believe and we believe in, and maybe things like that. I don't know, hand pick a few of them that isn't telling you to disobey or implying that. Then I would be okay with the video coming back, as long as it's not implying or super obvious that, hey, you could do whatever you want. Now, I had the teaching right, but not in the right clarity. That I knew faith alone was garbage. Faith alone for being justified, saved by grace through faith. Yeah, I get that. But then they cut it off and say that's it for the rest of my life. That's it. And then the whole entire scriptures, and 2/3 of the Bible, like they say, is the scriptures, Old Testament. This is how the Father works. If you want to know how he works, then you need to learn from there and not just New Testament, and cut off the Old Testament as if it's something separated and alienated from the new covenant. It's not. Maybe I can read one more. Where was it now, though? Ezekiel, I think. 11. I don't remember now for sure. I think it talks about the new covenant that he would make. And there's more than one. There's 2-3 places in the Ezekiel and Jeremiah that kind of say the same thing. Just going off of memory now. Okay, here it is. And they will go there, and they will take away all its detestable things and all its abominations from there. Ezekiel 11, chapter 11. Then I will give them one heart, and I will put a new spirit within them, and take the stony heart out of their flesh, and give them a heart of flesh, that they may walk in my statutes and keep my judgments or law and do them. And they shall be my people, and I will be their God, Elohim. But as for those whose hearts follow the desire for their detestable things and their abominations. I will recompense their deeds on their own heads, says Yahweh. So there it is, and there's more verses I could have read that specifically say, in Jeremiah it says new covenant, and I will put my law in their hearts, and they will do them. They will be careful to keep my ordinances or law. They will be careful to do that. New covenant people will be careful to do his judgments, ordinances, law, and be careful to keep them. So there it is. I mean, this video should be enough to basically prove the whole entire world is in delusion, including most people that claim that the harlot is a lie. They themselves are liars, and they can't contradict the scriptures. I think there's always been a few, because of the texts I did on some other channel, that watch this, that probably won't want to watch this anymore, but contradict it, try to contradict it. Basically, if you're telling me what I'm saying is not true of what I've been led to believe and understand, then you gotta find me proof without contradicting these verses that I all just read, So it's groundless. It doesn't exist. This apostasy started like during Paul's time and right afterwards. Wolves would come in. These were the wolves, the false prophets, the liars that hate God, that hate Yahweh, the Father, and they hate the Messiah, because to hate one is to hate the other, and they hate his people. All of them. They're all snakes. They're all liars. They all hate people that want to keep his way. And that's why they teach the things they teach. The deception's so crazy. It's like, I don't even know that they know what they're doing. I don't think they know what they're doing. But then when you tell them, then they're willfully ignorant. And that's where, I think the judgment on them gets a little stronger, is when you show them truth and they contradict it or still refuse to believe it, then it's, then their hearts get hardened like Pharaoh, and there's nothing they can do about it. So the same people that teach no free will, that teach that he is sovereign, and I believe that he is sovereign, and he hardens whom he hardens, has mercy on whom he has mercy. True. But the same people that teach that have become hardened. Man, that's crazy. And blinded. I recognize this was the reason people used to be so unkind to foreigners, and God made instructions on how to treat them. I'm not sure what's trying to be said there. I recognize this was the reason people used to be so unkind to foreigners. Oh, maybe just implying that's all that is, though. It has nothing to do with us. I would have agreed with you not too long ago. But I can't. I see too much. When something contradicts in my mind the scriptures, then I know it's not true. It's not true. So, yeah, it was given to be good to the foreigners too, but this specific teaching is that anyone who claims to believe today they're fellow citizens and are supposed to do exactly what the Hebrews, the Jews, do in Scripture, the true way, not what the Jews do today is not what I'm saying, or people who call themselves that. So who's going to actually want to do that? I think the whole thing's just a test, mostly. And I know these things mean something spiritual. There's a spiritual understanding to all these things, but it's also a great test of things to do to see if, to prove the ones who are obedient, that actually have faith, and the ones that don't. So it's over. It's debunked. It's groundless. The scriptures clearly teach that the citizen is one with the foreigner. That they do the same thing, same judgment, same law, same everything. And Paul says Gentiles are grafted in. They're fellow citizens. So there it is. Done. In my mind, I see it clearly. Now, people who don't want to see it, they won't see it. They'll just, I suppose they'll make things up, that it's just something cute that was given a long time ago. It doesn't really apply. Well, it's a strong delusion, so people won't be allowed to see it or hear it just the way it is. The only person that could hear these words are somebody that he's calling out, and ultimately only the elect, whoever they are, will be able to hear these words.